Week. Let's begin from the nation's capital, where President Tinubu inaugurated the Presidential Economic Coordination Council in the week. The council, which comprises the President Economic Management Team, will also have the leadership of the legislature, the subnational government led by the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, and the private sector led by prominent industrialists Aliko Dangote, a chairman Hess Holdings, Mr. Tony Elumelu, and Bismarck Rwani, among others. The Economic Coordination Council, charged with the mandate to ease the cost of doing business, will report to the president every month. President Tinubu also approved a package of 2 trillion naira to fund critical sectors of the economy. Told the council that his focus is to enhance food production and food security and provide sufficient food at an affordable price. Elsewhere in the week, the Council of Ministers of African Petroleum Producers Organization has approved Nigeria as the host of headquarters of the African Energy Bank. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Mr. Henneken Lopobiri, announced these while briefing newsmen after a meeting of the Council of Ministers of African Petroleum Producers Organization in Abuja. The hosting of the $5 billion Africa Energy Bank in Nigeria is expected to boost Nigeria's gross domestic product, enhance employment opportunities, strengthen financial architecture and inclusion, among others.
This is not going to be a bank for Nigeria alone. It is a bank for the entire African continent. And I want to assure Nigerians that this is one of the biggest achievements, of this administration. Because funding has been a bigger challenge, and once we solve that problem, all this smear campaign of abandoning fossil fuel and all that will be completely eroded. So I want to say to Nigerians that we've been formally given, let all of us work together to ensure that this bank takes off on time and for the benefit of not only Nigeria, but also the entire continent of Africa.
In another story, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has commissioned 12 compressed natural gas stations in Abuja and Lagos to reduce transportation costs in the country. Speaking at the occasion of the commissioning in Abuja, the NNPC Limited reiterates government plans to create more stations across the country for more accessibility for end users. Helena Samide-King's report.
President Bola Tinubu's administration announced plans to promote the use of compressed natural gas as a cleaner and more affordable alternative to fuel in Nigeria following the removal of petrol subsidy in May 2023. This initiative aimed to reduce Nigerians' dependence on imported fuel, decrease greenhouse gas emissions, and provide a more affordable and sustainable energy solution for the country. Under the presidential CNG initiative, NNPC and its partner entered into a strategic partnership to construct 35 CNG stations across Nigeria. Today, it is commissioning 12 CNG stations in Abuja and Lagos to offer CNG to a wide range of CNG users. In its efforts to reach a wide range of users, it says more stations are on the way.
Currently, we are only using 3%. That goes a long way to tell us that irrespective of the demands on it, that will meet the target. And of course, NNPC and other investors, they are not relenting in making sure they go into new development of gas.
We'll construct all the model stations across the 6 geopolitical zones, already work in progress. We are doing 3 LNG stations in Ajekuta. Actual construction work will start in September. Sites have been clearing as we speak now. And the meaning of this is that at the end, the CNG will continue to be easily available to every part of the country.
Speaking on the advantage of the CNG, Special Assistant to the President of Special Duty and Domestic Affairs says beyond its effectiveness, it also helps in saving costs.
In totally per vehicle, this will be saving 12 million per vehicle per year. 6 million of that savings is government savings, so that you don't need to subsidize the car. Because normally government pays 6 million naira on every vehicle, and we're talking about 40 years of subsidy right now. So that goes, that 6 million goes. Then for the man who was removing money from his pocket to pay for petrol, he will also save 6 million naira on an average based on the 250 liters that they use, and that's another 6 million naira savings.
The newly built CNG stations featured advanced technology and have a combined dispensing capacity of over 6 million standard cubic feet of CNG per day, serving approximately 15,000 vehicles daily.
Meanwhile, the National Petroleum Company Limited has declared a state of emergency on production in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. The nation's oil company is also calling on all players in the industry to collaborate towards reducing the cost of oil production and boost production target. The Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited, Mr. Amele Kyari, said the company has decided to stop the debate and cannot afford to negotiate further, and declared war on the challenges affecting crude oil production. He said a detailed analysis of asset revealed that Nigeria could conveniently produce 2 million barrels of crude oil daily without deploying new rigs, or decried the inability of players to act promptly as major impediment and expressed commitment to investing in critical midstream gas infrastructure, such as the Obiafo-Briko-Moben and the Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipelines to boost domestic gas production. And in the maritime segment of the economy, the Nigerian Port Authority has taken a significant step towards modernizing operations and enhancing efficiency with the unveiling of a fleet of state-of-the-art marine craft. This development underscores the agency's commitment to improving service delivery and meeting the evolving needs of maritime trade. TVC News Senior Business Correspondent Ifunanya Ezehasmo.
With strength and reliability.
The unveiling of the Nigerian Port Authority's latest assets, the advanced marine craft MT Iragbiji and MT Bama, highlighting the potential impact on regional commerce and economic growth. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy described the acquisition of the vessels as a strategic move to enhance Nigeria's port capabilities.
It's a testament to the fact that we are determined to ensure that we play a role as a premier maritime nation, not only in the West African region, but even in Africa. The tugboat is very important in ensuring that we're able to back big vessels, particularly if you look at the Lekki corridor with the kind of traffic of ships that come there, they need this.
The Managing Director of the Nigerian Port Authority says that the deployment of the marine craft will optimize Nigeria's competitive edge by efficiently servicing domestic cargo needs and boosting transit cargo from neighboring countries.
Being a hub status means, you become a center of a lot of activity. For you to be able to do that, you have to have the right infrastructure, good infrastructure, that's port infrastructure. We're already working on that. You must have the right equipment, and that's why we have equipment renewal, buying new tugboats, new pilot cutters, new mooring boats, and so on and so forth. So this will add to that. What it simply means is that customers, importers and exporters will now realize Nigeria has the capacity and has the ports that have the right equipment to handle their cargo, bring in vessels and take them out of port as quickly as possible.
Earlier, the Comptroller General of Customs and other dignitaries recognized the vessel acquisition as a timely response to current trade facilitation demands.
70% of our operations is conducted in all the ports that we have in this country. What that speaks to is the fact that we must deliberately, we must be very intentional about working with the custodians of the post.
And away from that now, the leadership of Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria has commended the reforms of President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, saying it will help grow the economy. The president of CIOD, Mr. Tijani Borodo, made the statement on the sideline of the 48th annual general meeting of the Institute held in Lagos. Speaking after the meeting, Mr. Borodo expressed hope that if the present reforms are followed through, it will not only unlock the full potentials of Nigeria's economy, but also place the nation on a recovery trajectory to drive the prosperity of the continent. The president urged members of the Institute to continue to be a vanguard for capacity and skills development in the country.
Regarding the divestment, the transaction involving Mobil and Seplat, currently the company has expressed commitment to proceed to apply for ministerial consent, that is to front load the documentation to the Commission. So the position I'm expressing here is that the NUPRC, as the regulator as we speak, is yet to receive the documentation for due diligence in respect of mobile satellite transaction.
Outside Nigeria, China's automaker BYD has posted a 21% rise in second quarter electric vehicle sales, closing the gap with Tesla after handing back the world's top EV vendor title to the U.S. rival in the first quarter. According to the report, BYD sold more than 426,000 EVs in April to June, which is around 12,000 vehicles fewer than Tesla's vehicle deliveries estimated for the second quarter. Elon Musk's Tesla is expected to report a 6% decline for April to June quarter vehicles delivery, the first time the U.S. firm is set to post 2 straight quarters of decline as it deals with stiff competition in China and slow demand due to a lack of affordable new models. The company may again recede or cede its EV championship to BYD if the result are softer than expected, with Barclays predicting an 11% drop in second quarter deliveries, Tesla's biggest ever. Well, and those were some of the biggest stories that made headlines. Coming up after this break, our focus is on prospect for Nigeria's pharmaceutical sector as the federal government issued an executive order removing the import duty on pharmaceutical raw materials. That's our talking point in a moment. Please stay with us. This is Business Week. Thank you for joining us, everyone. You're still watching Business Week, coming to you from our studios here, the nation's commercial capital. Let's get into our conversation for today. In a move aimed at improving access to affordable healthcare and strengthening the pharmaceutical industry in Nigeria, the federal government recently issued an executive order removing import duties, value-added tax, and excise duty on pharmaceutical raw materials, medical diagnostic equipment, and other machinery. Experts say this landmark decision has the potential to significantly impact the healthcare landscape and the country and drive investment in the pharmaceutical sector. Well, let's make sense of this conversation right away. I'm joined by a consumer goods analyst at ARM Securities, Calista Chileke. She joins me virtually now. Thank you, Calista. It's good to have you. With this executive order to suspend import duties and value-added tax on essential medical supplies imported into the country, a lot is supposed to change going forward in the sector. But from an economic perspective, how significant is this move for Nigeria's healthcare industry and the broader economy?
I would like to say it's a very positive move in the right direction, right? Given that the Nigeria's healthcare industry is very import dependent, right? So the removal of these import duties, VAT on key raw materials that are being used in the industry will help to reduce cost of production and which will eventually translate to reduce prices of these finished drugs and whatnot. So by eliminating these import duties on raw materials and machinery that are being brought into the country, you can see the cost of production for pharmaceutical companies and the industry at large is very much likely to decrease, and this will make domestic production in the industry more economically should I say viable. Also, we could see increased investment, more foreign inflows into the industry, given that now all these bottlenecks, all these bureaucracies and rednecks are being eliminated from the process of bringing in imports into the country. So lower production costs arising from removal of these import duties would definitely attract more investment into the sector. And I'm not even talking about only foreign, I'm talking about local investors as well. So we could see both foreign and local investors begin to set up businesses in this industry. Like you rightly noted in your opening, input cost is expected to decline. I mean, because if input costs decline on the production, of course, the cost of the product is supposed to decline, right?
and the expectation is that this should impact the cost of medications, going forward. So talk to us, how significant do you think this will reduce cost going forward?
Import duties and VAT were just one aspect of the challenges that are being faced by the healthcare industry or manufacturers at large in the country. So we still have, high exchange rate, we still have high interest rates in the mix. So though this is a good step, removal of VAT and import duties is a very good step, but I don't see it having a very huge impact on the prices of these pharmaceutical goods and services, because manufacturers are still being faced with higher interest rates. You see the NNPC hiking interest rates to combat inflation and to attract foreign inflows. We're also seeing higher exchange rates. Like I said before, the industry is very dependent on imports. So if the exchange rate is very high, we will see that will still feed into the cost of production, as well as the higher interest rate, which will feed into the cost of production. So removal of VAT and import duties, though very much appreciated, might not give us that significant price reduction that we're expecting, but it might help to stabilize the prices at which they are at the moment.
So if I heard you right, this will not affect the cost of medications. That's what you're saying. I mean, this is perhaps bad news for most Nigerians who are not only struggling with cost of living, but household spending. So let's talk about the sustainability of this policy beyond its implementation phase. Some believe that there's a need for the government to build on this policy as a foundation to further strengthen and overhaul the entire healthcare system. Nigeria is a big market, as we all know it, but what do you suppose we need to fix to position the country for investment opportunities?
Generally, the economy, to position Nigeria in a place where we are able to attract foreign investors. CBN has started its work by hiking interest rates. So basically, they'll hike interest rates, and foreign investors will see this as an opportunity to come into the country to make investments. Given that all these advanced economies like the United States, the United Kingdom are having lower interest rates than Nigeria, but we should consider the fact that Nigeria is facing a lot of challenges, such as security issues, which is a major deterrent for all these foreign investors. And we also have higher exchange rates and FX issues, basically, which are not allowing these investors repatriate their funds back into their countries, which is one of the major reasons why we have seen many foreign companies exit the country, like GSK and the likes, right? So for us to be in a place where we are able to attract investors, where Nigeria is attractive to foreign investors, we have to fight these internal issues, these macroeconomic issues, inflation, FX scarcity. For us to combat FX scarcity, that's the dilemma we find ourselves in. For us to combat FX scarcity, we have to attract investment, right? But that's not going to happen except to solve FX scarcity. Another way for us to resolve FX scarcity is to, produce. We need to be a producing country and not just, based on importation. We have to be able to export as much as we import, even more than. So other challenges still subsist underneath that are deterring foreign investors from coming into the country. But the CBN, with its interest rate hikes, has tried to improve our FX reserves on one hand. But the fiscal side still has to come hand in hand with the CBN to combat structural issues like insecurity. But the government needs to put in place money implementation and monitoring strategies. So effective implementation and monitoring will be very crucial, that the benefits of this tax exemptions, this removal of VAT and import duties are passed on to the consumers, because we've seen Nigeria is a very special case, given that regardless of whether inflation is coming down or prices or cost of production is reducing, we might not see that being reflected in the prices of the goods and services that are given to consumers. So the government needs to ensure that producers are not selfish to absorb it as their own profit.
This policy, of course, is also expected to unlock the healthcare value chain, which was approved in October 2023 by the president. So how do you see this policy change or influence the overall growth and development of the pharmaceutical industry in the country? And like I said earlier, it's a big market, so we expect some investment to come in after this decision, isn't it?
We should see increased production and investment into the industry, which is pivotal for growth in the sector. So before this policy, we saw that raw materials as little as syringes were even being taxed. Because we're not even producing syringes in the country, we have to import them. So they were being taxed, and that was feeding into the cost of healthcare for the final consumer. So with this removal and with this removal of import duties and VAT on the importation of these raw materials into the pharmaceutical industry, we should see some growth in the sector, given that on the back of proper implementation of this policy and ensuring that it is properly implemented. And I'm seeing that there's going to be collaboration between some ministries, right? And that should ensure proper implementation of this policy and ensure quality control. And this could, feed into the growth of the sector, basically.
Let's wrap it up now with this. What's your outlook for the pharmaceutical sector with regards to the dividends of this policy? We expect that this, of course, going forward, impacts the sector immediately, and we'll start seeing, the results in the near attempt or in the near future. But what's your outlook for this?
This is just one step, right, that the government has taken. There's still the issue of inflation, still the issue of higher interest rates, to the issue of high exchange rate that is plaguing the sector and the country at large, basically, but majorly the manufacturing sector, which the pharmaceutical sector is a part of, right? So though this is good, the government or the agencies that's the CBN, the monetary policy aspect and the fiscal policy aspect, they have to work hand in hand to curb these issues that are facing the pharmaceutical sector. So until that is put in place or those issues are resolved, that's where we could see significant improvement in the pharmaceutical sector and the manufacturing sector at large. So that is just going to be it.
Well, I think a good place to leave it. Thank you so much for your time. Consumer Goods Analyst at ARM Securities, Kalisa Chileke. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you.
Well, and just before we draw the curtain, let's say that the National Bureau of Statistics says more than 219 million active voice subscribers were recorded in the first quarter of 2024, showing a growth rate of 3.03% compared to the 226 million reported in the first quarter of 2023. This is contained in the Bureau Telecoms data, active voice and internet per state, porting and tariff information report for first quarter 2024. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, the report shows that active voice subscribers decreased by 2.41% from the over 224 million recorded in the fourth quarter of 2023. Also, the report reviewed a total of more than 164 million active internet subscribers were recorded in the first quarter of this year compared to 157.55 million reported in the first quarter of 2023. Well, and that's our show this week. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your weekend with us. I am Frank Omalape.